Hey, everybody.
What's going on?
Hey, interweb.
It's glad to be back. Glad to be back, guys.
Stop it. Stop it.
Where did we go?
We are back.
Where did we go?
What's
We-
the station?
Back from where? The future? That's a whole different podcast.
A whole different podcast there.
Definitely is. Great to be back this week with you guys and in another episode of Carbonate Bound BS, which is our first of 2024. And man, what a show we have for you guys. So I'm glad to start out the year with a bang, so to speak, 24 for sure. But before we even dive into this episode, let's let our guy DP let you guys know where to find us.
Right. Nerdcyclopedia.com, people, your favorite website where you get all your social media platforms to at us at. We're at Nerdcyclopedia on Twitter, Facebook, well, X. I keep saying Twitter, so it's X.
There's no Twitter.
Yeah. Instagram, TikTok, anywhere that you find yourself on social media, just add us at Nerdcyclopedia. Listen to us on podcasts. We're on iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play. Anywhere that you listen to your favorite podcast, we are there. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you. Make sure you smash that subscribe button and also hit that notification button. So anytime that we're on, you know that we're on. If you're watching us on Facebook, thank you as well. Join our Carbonite Bounty BS Star Wars group Facebook group. So we'll let you know everything. We'll talk about everything Star Wars related. So come and join us and have a little bit of fun. If you want to leave us an email, we're at nerdcyclopedia.com. So make sure that you're going over there and leaving us some of your feedback and everything. We love getting your feedback and having you let us know how we can make the show better for you.
Ooh. Which we won't do.
Good stuff.
Under any circumstances.
It's all about the customer experience here.
Customer service all day here,
We just want you buying what we're selling. That's all. That's it. Just
no matter what.
Yeah, no matter what.
And what are we selling these days, Ken? What is it that we sell?
We are selling experience. We are selling new information, new characters, and tropes, and everything. And we're selling the whole bucket. The whole bucket.
Buy this experience. Yep.
I'm glad we're selling.
PayPal, Venmo, Zelle, whatever you got.
We're all over it.
We're all over it.
We'll take your money however you feel.
Most
you'd like to send it to us. We're happy to accept.
It will be setting
very unpicky about that.
Yeah.
But no, guys. I mean, it's great to be back, as I said, and then what a way to start out 2024 with our episode review of Star Wars Resistance. We're in season 1, so as far as episodes 9 to 3, a shorter run this week. But we'll start with you, Ken. What were your initial thoughts of this run?
It took a while to get going. We had some short little sort of vignette, short little stories about our the racers and our boy Kaz, who's just the most solid and most put together character. I mean, he doesn't fumble the ball. He's always on point. There's absolutely nothing fallible I can say about this guy.
He's a regular Mary Joe.
What? A Mary Joe? Who's Mary Joe?
Not a Mary Sue. He's a Mary.
He's like the cousin. He's the cousin of Mary Sue. You're gonna get us in trouble today, my friend. But we'll take that.
So
we had what's a Mary Joe like? It's just
we had more. We had more espionage. Now we know that Captain Doza was an Imperial officer back in the day. He keeps that uniform pressed and starched in the closet. He's ready. He's not jumping on the First Order bandwagon, which I got to give him about 10 points for that, because the First Order was a pile of crap. I mean, they were poorly organized. It was just a bunch of hotheads, a bunch of angry teenagers with a lot of technology. It really didn't. Yeah. So Captain Doza is basically waiting until the Empire comes back. So, I mean, I think he's waiting for Palpatine to come back and bring order to the galaxy. I like that nugget. You know what I also like? Niku is actually a little more interesting now because he surpasses Jar Jar on the idiot scale by probably about, I don't know, 8,000 midichlorians, because he knows things. He knows things that, I mean, he knows, for instance, he knows where that escape pod is. Nobody knew that, right? Nobody knew where that escape pod was. It was underwater. Also, his grandfather was on Jabba's sail barge, Nikto, and he mentions him in this episode. Lots of great call outs. I really watched the scene a couple times. Tara said wizard, which was an Anakin word. Anakin said wizard, and she brought it back. So there's all these great little intertwining connections, and that's why I am keeping up with this. I'm invested. I know some of y'all think this is garbage. I get it. I see the trash. I see where it's.
Ken, this is not like you.
Wait.
Wow.
So
Apologizing already.
I see what you guys don't like, but also as a fan, I'm seeing where they're kind of trying to pull it in and allow me to digest things a little differently. So I'm digging the insight we're getting into Phasma. I mean, who knew that she was that agile and could fight? I mean, basically, when we saw her in Force Awakens, she just stood there and she got pushed into a trash compactor. Now we're seeing her like,
slicing.
We understand why she's who she is, and she has the chrome uniform because she's a fighter.
Kind of like how Palpatine, all of a sudden, he was just like, had his all moves and everything back in Clone Wars. Like, where did that come from?
Exactly. We're seeing some structure now to build up to a Force Awakens. And I think what we're going to do, we're going to finish season 1. We're going to do season 2 of this Resistance. And then I think we're going to rewatch Force Awakens because I think we're going to get a little different perspective on not only are we going to hate the First Order more because they're idiots. We're going to
see that. I'm down for that. I can see that. I'm down for that.
Yeah, you can see, and like I said in the beginning of my review, the First Order, they're trash, they're garbage, they're children. They've been given lots of toys, and they threw the directions out. They basically said, "We're throwing this in the trash. We're going to try and figure out how to do this." And I see where that's kind of coming, and I also see why Captain Doza is like a little on the fence with where his loyalties are. And he's still with family. Like, he's still grounded in something that we can all relate to. He's still just trying to do what's best for his family, which is basically his daughter. That's all he has left. So I dig that. I like the 80s video game throwback where she has all the flight simulators. That was cool. But overall, this was a nice vignette of episodes. It took a while to get there, but they started to feed us some nice little nuggets along the way. So it's an 8 out of 10. I'm not giving it
my God.
But I'll give these episodes an 8, a solid 8 because of the sort of the tropey nuggets that they gave me and the little pickups that I got. And I love Senora.
Senora.
Great character. If there was a Black Series action figure of her, I'd probably buy it. Just saying. Make it reasonably priced, Disney. Just help me out. Reasonably priced, like under $20 for Christ's sake. Like,
hey,
how
that's
much?
what Disney there is for. They're here to sell you their product and stuff.
Yeah,
So
right.
we watch these things. They make us. They want us to watch these things so we could potentially purchase more product from them. Right?
And they need new characters because their characters are entering the public domain at a shocking rate.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Finally, after 95 years.
Right.
No, they got to do it.
Oh man.
I mean, I'll give my review real quick because I know let you guys get into it. I'm not invested. It's not. This isn't striking me. Out of everything we watch, I find this like the least adult. Like I don't know the characters. I mean, kind of like goofy. It's something maybe for your family. This is like to me. This is like Disney XD for Star Wars. You know, not really like no disrespect to Disney XD. There's some good stuff on there, but yeah, this is a little too kind of Disney XD for me. It's not hitting. The characters are cool, and like I said, the things I want is like more like exposition into the First Order. This is more like resistance building. We know how resistance builds. I just watched it an hour an episode with Andor. We understand how these revolutions start. I wish we were getting more exposition on the First Order. So it's okay. For one thing, he knows how to do animated series, so I'll give him that. But I mean, overall, this doesn't strike me at all. So I'll let you guys continue moving forward.
Ooh.
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 I guess I'm up next because I just misclicked. So I'll go. It's totally fine with me. So these episodes were better than the ones I think the first 8. These 4 were pretty decent. I like the whole Yeager has a brother that killed his family thing, and I would not forgive that guy. What a jerk! Blow up everybody because you want to be fast. We just saw that kid do that like 2 episodes ago, and he was a jerk, right? So why wouldn't that anyway? That whole thing was weird, but I like that. I like that they gave Yeager some conflict. As a West Virginia native, I'll say that guy's name being spelled Yeager and being pronounced Yeager is driving me insane. It's driving me absolutely nuts because that's the perfect character to be named after Chuck Yeager, right? I mean, he's an old school guy, great pilot, hates everybody. Do not mess with this dude. That's exactly the persona Chuck Yeager had. So it is driving me more than a little bit insane. If you told me that the title of episode 13 was something like Sacrifice and like Kaz was holding Nico like something terrible happened to him, I'd be pretty stoked. That character is really annoying. I don't know. There's something about the obliviousness and the childlikeness. It's close, man. It's close. He's got this stupid pet, and it's obvious this murder kraken is coming for this thing. Like, why do you care if it's going to eat it or not? Like, it's an enormous murder kraken.
Right.
I don't know. That character is kind of getting on my nerves a little bit. But overall, I mean, I like that we're seeing some sort of insight into how the First Order kind of got where they are. They're out there like mining uranium, and they're like, the whole First Republic is going to be like, that's fine. What do you get? Yeah, you can do a lot of stuff with uranium. A lot of things. So we can't just jump to conclusions about these fine gentlemen and their secret, child kidnapping hypnotism army. That's totally okay. Like that. Think about it. That's what these stormtroopers are. And I don't know if that's just like a well-kept secret or what.
Like trafficking, right?
Yeah, but these guys aren't. They're not good. They're not doing good things. I'm interested to see who this Red Baron is. Like that's got me hanging on. I like the Red Baron fighter pilot. Big fan there. I like Pyre and Phasma. I like that we're getting them to see them do some stuff in their gilded uniforms that actually justifies it.
Makes sense. It makes sense.
Exactly. Like there's a reason they're there, and there's a reason they're doing these things. But I don't know. It's interesting because like there's obviously a weird and complicated relationship between the Republic, the Resistance, the First Order, the Empire, the Imperial Remnant, right? And then Palpatine's in there somewhere. And it seems like that's really, really complicated, but it's being presented as something very straightforward. First Order's bad. They have a thing. We found it. It's bad. It just seems like there should be a lot more nuance, especially when you're dealing with this weird, like, fifth columnist versus, like, the military hardliners. Like, that should be a really interesting cat and mouse game where they're just trying to catch each other doing all this dirty crap so that they can go to the Senate and accuse each other of doing the crap, right? That's what should be happening. But here it's being weirdly presented like, no one's doing anything to stop anybody from doing anything at all. So how is there even a conflict, right? I don't know. We're so used to seeing fighter pilots, like seeing these guys tied to this ring racing stuff when they could just be having like dogfights with pirates or whatever. Just seems silly to me. Like just enough with the racing. Let's just get in a fighter pilot, get in a fighter, and shoot a bunch of stuff. Just like that's what Star Wars is supposed to be. This isn't Mario Kart. This is Rogue Squadron is what we want to see.
Right.
So I'm optimistic that because it is getting better, but right now, I don't know. Like if this weren't Star Wars, Brandon, would I watch the next one of these? Probably not.
Mm.
Damn.
Yeah. I applaud you guys for trugging through the stuff and everything. I mean, I have to say that I'm digging basically this more than these batch of episodes more than, as Hitch said, the first few. I guess getting used to the fact that this is not aimed at adults, obviously.
Yeah.
It is aimed more at like the kids, and it doesn't get to the level of maturity at least at this point, like Clone Wars eventually did, in my eyes and everything. It's something that George Lucas always says Star Wars is for kids. So if you want to take that for what it's worth, then I guess this is what he meant, meant for it to be and everything. That nuance and complications that we're looking to have. I mean, sure, we definitely want it. I don't think at this point we're going to get it. In this particular, portion of the series, I think since this is like 2 seasons, I'm hoping it doesn't spin its wheels with some of the antics that go on with some of these characters, especially with like Nico and like, the whole Bebo thing. That episode was pretty much like a turnoff because of what it was. Seriously,
Did you finish it?
Of course I finished it.
Okay.
I'm dedicated to the game and everything. So
That episode was like eating a Domino's pizza.
Wow. I don't know. Little Caesars is worse, bro.
Yeah, I would say Little Caesars probably a little.
Little Caesars is like, wow.
Yeah.
We all have our preferences.
The Jaeger episode with his brother, Yeager or whatever, definitely like that one. And like the dynamic. Finally, you give some Yeager to do and actually further his character arc and everything. The Captain Doza episode with the Cash trying to find out a little bit more about him, and then we get what's her name again? Tora. I like her. I like her a lot, and I'm hoping to see a lot more of her, with our heroes and all that stuff. The lesser Kaz, Ken's friend, Ken's boy, the less of him, I mean, I'm like, digging that. But I mean, unfortunately or fortunately, he's a character that we gotta, take the journey with these episodes. I'm accepting it for the level that it's on. So I'm the type that, okay, this is what they're presenting us, take it at that. I can't wish for something that the show can't give us, if I'm going to do that, I need to watch something else. I'm going through all this Star Wars stuff. At the end of watching it, I'll assess of what it is, and go from there. My opinions on the Bad Batch sort of changed with the second season because I'm thinking like they was heading somewhere with that, and then the second season sort of got away from with the spirit of what happened in the first season with a lot of those meandering episodes and stuff. So sometimes Dave Filoni could get off track and everything. Then sometimes he could be right on point and everything. So
DP, we gotta say that for later, but is it Dave Filoni really? We're gonna say that for the back half of today.
Hey, I don't know. Some people actually down his skills now. Now that we see like more of his work and everything. But like I said, for the purpose of Resistance, like I said, I'm digging. I dug like the 3, the Bebo part. I could take or leave and everything. And I thought that episode in particular was just probably could have been just a throwaway and skip to like the next thing. And I hope these characters get a little bit more better developed and a little bit more focused, for my eyes. But like I said, I realize what it is aimed at children. and you're getting what you're getting.
Mm-hmm. So the general consensus is you guys don't like Cassian. He's sort of a throwaway, which is weird because he is a Star Wars character. He is a head in the clouds, looking for adventure, looking for the next big thing, looking to make a mark. I mean, that's what Star Wars characters are. They're looking to be more than they are now. And
you know what I love about you, Ken? I love that you take in the spirit of what Star Wars is. I like that. I like that. I like that a lot.
He's a spin master. He's a DJ, bro. This guy.
You have to breathe. You have to breathe this stuff in. I mean, so real quick side note. I'm a fan of Halloween, the film franchise. Okay. Michael Myers is probably the strongest built character that I can think of.
Let's not do that. Let's not do that on the show. Let's not do that.
Wait, no. I'm just making a I'm drawing an example. So okay. I'm a member of the Facebook page that honors Halloween. Okay, all these people and they bash things that are like, if you're into something, you're into it. Like, if you don't like it, then don't like it. Get out. So Star Wars is a lot like that. If it has that element to it, I'm sold. And as long as it keeps with the spirit of the franchise, I'm good. So even with things that we can relate to, like reality, like religion, like every time someone tries to rewrite or redo or rethink something with a particular religion, whether it's Judaism or Catholicism or whatever, if you're a part of it, be a part of it. Like, breathe it in. There has to be something there that's going to be acceptable. Now, we haven't seen the only critique I have of this series, and like I said it, I think I said it 2 weeks ago, there has been no Jedi, no Force, nothing. Yeah. It's like, this is literally Palpatine did it. He destroyed the Jedi. He took the Force out of the galaxy at this point. There is literally nothing. So we have these humans that are now having to use their own skills. And here's Kaz, man. He's got his skills. Like, he can fall over things and land on his feet. He has a great ability to detect when First Order stormtroopers are right at the end of a hallway, and he's avoided their laser blasts and stun blasts like nobody's business. I mean, this kid is on it. So,
plus he wins the R. Kelly Award for hiding in the closet.
Wow, jeez,
you know what?
Daggers today
for high. So you remember that movie, Small Soldiers? What did the Gorgonites do? They hid. That was their superpower. They hid.
I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right, Kim. Maybe we're being a little bit too down on this. I could see how you could be offended by, wanting just a little bit more. I don't know, a little bit more depth to this series. And I think honestly, we've got to blame Andor for this, because when I hear a spy drama and I think about tension and I think about building and stakes and all that stuff, I think about
Andor. Yeah.
Andor and how good
Andor,
that show was.
Aimed at who? Andor's aimed where?
Adults.
Not necessarily, but it's aimed on a different audience.
It takes place in the same universe, right? So you're I mean, to Hitch's point about, because he mentioned Andor and everything, and then to Ken's point about not having like any Force stuff, both series really didn't have any type of Force stuff. They took place in the same universe. One is aimed at children, one is aimed at adults. I mean, that's actually a really good joy to have instead of having it being just one, type of thing. Would you say that Andor still captured the spirit of Star Wars, Ken?
Oh, totally. I mean, just with the idea of the rebellion and how it, I mean, think about it. Star Wars was built on this rebellion. And we didn't know. We were dropped in the middle of this whole thing. Imagine the first scene in Star Wars, A New Hope. You didn't know who the good guys were or the bad guys were. It was completely. It was a blank slate. Just because the guy's dressed all in black and he's got this helmet and everything doesn't mean he's bad. Doesn't mean that he's the evil guy. But that's the stereotypical thing that we like to say that the guy dressed in black, he's bad. But all his minions are in white. Right?
Politician. Somebody give him a seat at the Senate. Give this guy a seat in the Senate.
What about the Shell folk, Ken? What do you think about the Shell folk and their escapades, engineering and repair underneath the Colossus?
And they're just like our little rock people in Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Like they're the ones actually doing the work. And real quick, now that I'm thinking about it, what is that Twinkie colored creature with the welding goggles? What is that?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about? He's like the color of a Twinkie. He looks like a canary, but we got a little bit of depth with that character in these episodes. Like the First Order took his cleaning machine. They took the only thing that this character did. This guy polished the floors in the bowels of the Colossus, and they took that machine from him. And you saw how hurt he was.
They removed the means of production.
And what is that thing? What is that?
Do you think they have floor polishers in Star Wars universe?
They have.
Do you think,
Sure.
do you think they have self-polishing floors?
I'm sure they're sponsored by like Roomba or Dyson or some shit, right? There's some kind of marketing ploy in the background of this.
Yeah, Disney knows it's a finite number of years they're going to be able to juice this stuff. So, they got to get their money now. They're experiencing it. They're getting ready.
But this show, I think, is trying to do something that we wanted to have happen. And I keep saying it. We wanted a backstory to Force Awakens. We wanted to know what happened between Jedi and Force Awakens. There was this big empty space.
This ain't it for me, buddy.
The Weimar. So we know there's a Weimar New Republic where they let the Imperials back in and put the Imperials in positions of power because they apparently knew how to do stuff. So we also know that there was no political will to continue the conflict after the Battle of Jakku, and that there was then a lengthy period of appeasement and denial where the Senate and the rest of the New Republic said, you know what? There's nobody that would think about attacking us.
Under the
our
carpet.
Navy.
Under the carpet.
Exactly. And then Leia Organa, with her force powers and ability to fly through space unharmed, comes and says, hey, let's start a new paramilitary organization, a private military corporation under my name. We'll call it the Resistance. And we'll go out there and we'll mess with the NRA, who just want to have guns for everybody, I guess. That's their whole thing.
And since you mentioned Leia, how about her part in these episodes?
I have a hard time figuring out when this is supposed to take place because she looks a lot more like 1983 Carrie Fisher, and it makes me think it's sooner in the timeline. But I don't think it means.
Yeah.
She sounds like Force Awakens, like era, right?
So
Princess Leia obviously kept smoking the whole time during, but she was a fighter, so.
Yeah, she was a fighter. She can do whatever she wants.
But this
She's
does
always
take place
royalty.
before Force Awakens, right?
But by how much?
It's supposed to, but it's almost like butting up against it.
Yeah.
It's almost like parallel kind of.
I mean, they're already building that base, right? Like we saw the base under the Starkiller base under
Multiple times.
construction or
We
whatever.
saw Starkiller base.
Yeah, so it's got to be pretty close. I mean, you figure the Death Star took a long time to build, but not more than 5 years, and they're already using the planet that exists. So I don't know.
Yeah, they don't have to build anything. They got the ring. They have the ring. They have the weapon, and they have the way to absorb energy from stars. So they got that already. And
Now
I think that
this tranche of episodes make me think there aren't that many Jedi in the galaxy. So there's probably not that many people that use the Force. That's why they're pushing us. But that could always change. Next week we could get a bunch of episodes where everybody like maybe a Jedi.
right. And Nico's a Jedi. Maybe
Please not
a dark knight or something. All of a sudden.
Yeah. I'm struggling to try to find a reason why they will introduce Jedi in this, unless it's just for like a one-off, like unless they went to like and one thing they don't do is like go to planets like they did like with Bad Batch and Clone Wars and stuff. I mean, we're like we're pretty much stuck here on the ship, and in the repair thing, they're trying to fix stuff with the races and all that stuff. I don't know if they're going to even. I mean, I will see. We'll see. But,
if you told me this is what Luke Skywalker ended up doing was being a racer at some stuff like this, I believe that a lot more than hiding on, the original planet the Jedi come from.
Yeah. But there was like a canon book I read at The Legends of Luke Skywalker that takes place after 7. So like that's like a book that it tells what happened to. It doesn't say what happened to him that drove him into like exile, but it's something. I mean, yeah, that's the story that we need to know. Like wrap up his, I don't know, his exposition into. I mean, they can literally end it up to like we're saying a young Ben Solo, right? To like up to that point, they could have tied that in together and made that a better exposition. I felt like.
Well, I mean, they mentioned Kylo Ren, right?
Okay. Exactly. So how do you mention him and nobody else?
I mean, they already fired. They already introduced the gun. So what are they going to do, Hitch? At some point,
or else it's bad writing.
Or else it is like horrible writing.
I think they're waiting. They're waiting because we're seeing the underbelly right now. We're seeing the, Phasma prior. We're seeing this sort of, how we don't need to see Kylo Ren yet. We don't need him in the mix yet. I would rather they wait till episode, what are we at? Episode 21, where we get his involvement, because he's a big player. I mean, he's a whale, and we don't need him right now on the floor. I think we're good right now with the way the First Order is being introduced, and they're deceiving people, and we see how they're blackmailing everybody, and we see this sort of like just being rude. They're just being rude to everybody, and they are making play. Yeah,
just
being
mean.
Rude. They're
just mean.
They're just darn right mean. They're doing mean stuff. They're kicking kids on that recess field. They're coming up behind them, kicking them in the back, and that's what the First Order is. Just a bunch of kids kicking other kids. There's nothing. I don't think we really need to see the bulk of it yet. Like, they haven't mentioned Hux. I mean, we know Hux is a player both with the New Republic and with the First Order. It's a lineage thing. We already know that, and we haven't seen him. So,
who does Phasma report to?
Huh?
Who does Phasma report to?
We don't know yet. Phasma reports to herself. I mean, I think the way it works, like we said last week, we've got the First Order stormtroopers that are just in white, like, they're the minions. Then we got the sort of the elite, and they're in red. That's the way it's always been with the Royal Guards. Red means you're the top of the food chain. We've got the new gold. That's really cool. Waiting for a Black Series helmet on that. Like, that and Phasma.
Yeah, Phasma would be sick. Hard to keep clean.
Oh, that would be so sick. And what if you put it on, T. Mitch? What if you put it on and when you talked, you sounded like her?
Well, the Vader one does that. So it's possible. Vader does that, so it's possible. It's possible.
That would be rude to the nth degree.
mean, this is like, I think the series will get better. It's starting slow. To me though, some of the characters, it's almost like to me, it's kind of cash grabby, to be honest. It just feels kind of like a little cash grab. And I mean, the series and our talking points, especially like the way the dialogue was went today. I mean, is going to really lead into the second topic that's me and DP has discussed at length. I think all of us has had talked to it at some point, but I mean, it's like it's been a smoking gun. It's the gun has been fired. You know, it's been a smoking gun for how long? DP, you would say? I would consider this post Endgame and even a little bit before then. So, would this be 3 years plus in the making?
I guess.
I mean, I don't know. It's just one of those things. But I mean, we discussed this, and I mean that segues us into the back half of this episode. Like, if you guys aren't aware, and it's something that we kind of discussed, but we kind of, I mean, I shied away from it on this channel and in a lot of things, but we talk about like writing, right? And we talk about, you know, is Filoni writing this, or like who's pulling the strings? I know we've given Kathleen Kennedy like fair abuse, some considered unfair abuse. I mean, she's the president of LucasArts. What's her influence? I mean, who's signing off on projects? But for those who weren't aware, right? So about a month and a half ago, you know, and we've seen it all on the internet, right? So whether it be Star Wars, where we, you know, in our median here discuss things, Marvel, even in other franchises, there's been this whole like agenda, right? Of like, you know, what are the buzzwords they use? You know, virtue signaling and agenda pushing, right? So we kind of had that whole discussion a couple times on different platforms, even hear about it. And the sad part is, like, you know, arguably the largest media company, Disney, acknowledges their part in this. And basically, it's kind of corny because I'll read it verbatim. So, Disney CEO Bob Iger, it said, the company has lost their sight in the role of the entertainment industry at a New York Times Deal Book Summit. Iger said at the forum that Disney must primarily entertain their role and not just push messaging, which is pretty crazy to me hearing that from him, right? So the idea is this is the first time anybody at a leading studio has been talking the need to focus on delighting the audience and telling a story rather than calling and signaling messaging in movies. He's also acknowledged all the noise out there about how the audience, which is us, and we spoke about this, how they don't like how Disney movie has made casting choices and character changes in their movies, and they want to pull it back to focus on storytelling. They do not like the fact of them rehashing old stories and repackaging old stories without being genuine and authentic. And this is something the company will look to do in the next coming years. So me hearing that, bro, is very telling because it's something I've told you guys about a long time ago. And this does nothing to do with this whole MCU bullshit and having female characters, but it really comes down to, and we said this, right? Like the writing. And to me, hearing that is refreshing, but to me, it's like really fucking cheap because like all these people, somebody signs off on this, right? So for you to like give that piss poor excuse of like, we know we fucked up and we're like, for whatever reason, peddling to a side or something, like, why did you do it? And like, ultimately, like, who falls on the sword for it? Because we talked about it, right? The last 3 years have been shit, in our opinion, and the majority of projects out. And these are things that are near and dear to us. You know, I find it like kind of like a cheap shot. I really respect Bob Iger and the things he does, but I mean, I don't know what his influence is on the film industry. So I know he's the CEO of Disney. Don't know what he does with LucasArts. So ultimately, like, I guess my question to you guys is like hearing these notes and these news things, and we talked about it, right? Like different shows, like Obi-Wan was a failure. Who the hell signed off to Boba Fett being some pussy? Like, something has to happen, like, because we're at a point now to like, if the studios acknowledge they made a mistake, how do we fix it? And ultimately, like, where do we go from here?
Mm.
So I think that a lot of that statement is based on a logical fallacy that I'm going to just unpack for a minute. And that's the idea that if we go back to how the way things were, that there will be no messaging in this entertainment. And that somehow the way these stories were being presented to us previously was some neutral or some zero on a scale of -10 to 10, right? Or left to right, or
Right.
however, up and down. It's in the middle. And I think that ignores a very real fact that all of these stories have always contained messaging of one sort or another that has carried the mores and values of the audience and the creators forward. That is the case. And what has happened is that there's a specific subsection of the fandom that does not want to learn the lessons that Disney wants to teach. And that's not the same thing as saying that they're focusing too much on that. What I'm saying is that there are people that are too narrow-minded to think that any perspective apart from theirs is neutral and zero on that scale of left and right.
And that's not saying that what Disney is producing right now isn't viable, right? I mean, that's just saying that there's a group, there's a piece of the pie out there that's looking at this stuff, that's trying to participate, but they don't see it. They don't see the vision. They don't see where it's going. So they're being.
Another thing I'm finding is too that I don't think me as a consumer of this content, as before Disney bought Marvel specifically, I was not into anything Disney whatsoever. I didn't have any care with Disney.
You're a total Beauty and the Beast fan. Just look at it.
We know.
That was my bag there.
I'll guess on.
So the element of
bullshit.
Seriously,
you have kids. You have
like,
kids.
I was so, and I have kids, yes, but my kids are like 8 and 10. So Marvel, when did Disney buy Marvel? Like over that
10 years ago.
Yeah, longer than that and everything. And I wasn't too amped on Disney buying Marvel. I was like, okay, well, Mickey Mouse is going to get involved somehow, and this is going to water down some stuff. But hey, in-game Avengers came out, was doing good, and all that stuff that came out before. Disney didn't really touch a bunch, but they just bought the property and maintained it and everything. All of a sudden, Walt Disney here is doing his thing. So I'm like, okay, well, this is some good stuff here. So I'm down with it. Now I think a certain set of that fandom that you're talking about, Steel City, is being a little bit more Disney cognizant, and aware of a lot of stuff going on because they know that and especially with Star Wars, that Disney holds a lot of the weight towards that, to that and everything. Whereas if Disney never bought that, they probably wouldn't be worried about what Disney's doing and what I guess Virtue Signal, whatever, that T Mitch is talking about. They wouldn't even be caring what Disney is doing, It's sort of disingenuous to a degree.
It's blame shifting. It's blame shifting.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you want to call Iger blame shifted. It's everybody,
It is. It's blame, because for you to say that, bro, they know. Like, who signed off? So then, okay, so Iger's the CEO of the company, right? So let's be specific with Star Wars. Who the fuck signed off on episode 7 that goes into episode 8, which is a completely different story, to then sign off on episode 9? It didn't have all of us crying about, well, this had happened, or.
But you know what, T. Mitch? I applaud them for trying. It failed.
Bro, we don't get it.
I get your opinion. It's mileage on your opinion and everything. I think it didn't. I think it personally failed and everything. But I applaud the company for the fact that if they're trying new things, because and it's like we kept text messaging back and forth. If you keep on this road to trying to cater to a certain second group that's getting older and older, then you're not growing like the product and everything. You gotta diversify.
Correct.
And try some different things. It may not work. It may not be done correctly. Those so-called virtue signal, gender swapping, or changing the stuff. They gotta try stuff to see what sticks in order for to see something grow and everything, because the stuff that's being supported now with those when Disney bought Marvel and Star Wars, they brought a certain sect of fandom on that wasn't with them before.
Right.
But look, is that fandom? This is something that I know is true about comic book fandom and about Star Wars fandom from before Disney bought those things. So I know it's true. And it's, you know, there were not enough women comic fans. There are not enough women Star Wars fans. And that's true. And it's something that we would, you know, if this were 20 years ago, we'd be lamenting that because we'd be at the convention or the meeting and we'd be like, man, I feel like a huge nerd being at this. Because look at all these people.
Sausage Fest?
Sausage Fest,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
Absolutely.
So
So think about it like this. And this is why I think that the entire backlash against this sort of thing is just wrong, is because you're not always making things for your fans now. You're not always trying to, you know, this isn't like NFL football where, you know, you want to get ahead in Cleveland, talk about how great the Browns are doing this year. You know what I mean? You want to get ahead in Pittsburgh, talk how great the Steelers are doing, how they can even lose this week and still make the playoffs, which is incredible and dumb. You know, you talk about those things and it's easy, and it would be easy to pander to the sausage room, right? It would be easy to pander to that. You can know exactly, you know, how to do that, and that's how you build the fan base. But there's only so many times you can tell that story, and if you read the Legends novels, you know that they ran out of times to tell that story. They told that story so many times they ran out of it. So you have to look at new characters and new perspectives. Now, to me, I think that there is an episode 9 that you can make to make 7 and 8 make sense. It's not the one they made. They made a different movie than that. But it's not like they, at the end of episode 8, they left the story in such a place as, you know, there was not an organic reason for the characters that were in the story to be in the story. And they didn't leave it in a place where it would be impossible to sort of solve, right? I think that there's this weird backlash saying, you know, you have to make this for me. You have to make this for me. You know, I'm the loyal one. And that's weird. It's weird to me that you can't conceive of other stories and other types of characters.
It's like an entitlement.
But I don't want my daughter thinking that, like, I don't want when she comes of age, right? And she finds out how big into Star Wars I am, as it dawns on her that that's not normal amongst her, you know, her friends' families. I don't want her to think that, you know, because of my association with this fandom now, that I am closed-minded and I would not be interested in those stories, because I don't think that's the case. But I do think that the average Star Wars fan that wants to whine about Rose and Rey, which seems to be, in my opinion, what I'm hearing on Star Wars anyway, is just, it's one of those people that's like, you know, oh, it's completely unrealistic for a woman to want to fight with a man, but they're space wizards. You know what I mean? Like it's space wizardry. Like anybody could beat anybody in a fight because it's space magic.
I think we're all talking about it because Disney is new to face it, they're new to this game. They're new to Star Wars. They're still trying to figure it out. They weren't there 40 years ago.
See that I'm not giving them a pass on that, because we just talked about it. So take out the signaling and the gender stuff, right? So explain to me why episode 7 was episode 4, and then I'll give you the floor then, because that's what I got.
Okay,
episode 4.
This was the best world that they felt they could live in.
I'm not hearing that.
I mean, and I'm not a big fan of the prequel, or, you know, the postquel. Sorry.
So
do you feel episode 7 is a remake of episode 4?
No.
I think it's a worse remake, first of all. Let me ask you. Here's an easy tell. Here's an easy tell why episode 7's worse. All right. What's the name of the planet it blew up in episode 4? Alderaan, right? We all know it's Alderaan.
Correct.
Dantooine.
And what's the name of the planet they blew up in episode 7? Why did it matter? Right, like what did it matter? They blew up these 8 planets in one star system when there's a billion systems in the Republic. Like, those are the sorts of things and the stakes that I think they did a poor job telegraphing, because they were relying on your understanding of the plot of episode 4. And that's how you can tell that it is
another Star Killer base when they already had a Death Star in the past.
It's Han Solo's going on hey, we're going to blow this thing up, right? I mean, if you have not seen Star Wars, episode 4, this would be a confusing situation. So I think it was very deliberately targeted on nostalgia, right? Very deliberately targeted on nostalgia, and they did it. It was too ham-fisted. They did it way too heavy. They should have been telling a completely different story, but and they didn't really make it clear in any real way what the Resistance was different from the New
It
Republic
was, it
and
was
these
too
political
big.
things.
It was too
To-
big. They
to
went
Ken,
big.
but to Ken's point, they're new to the game, and they just bought the franchise from George
Yeah.
Lucas.
Then why was
looking
Rogue
to
One
make-
good?
They're looking to make all this money
Because
back
they're
and do the
learning.
biggest thing possible to and they want to try to please everyone and ended up pleasing no one, to a degree. They pleased a lot of people with Force Awakens. That wasn't a bad movie.
I
It
thought
was
that
just-
was fine.
It was just
Yeah.
too much on nostalgia. It was a subsequent movies that could have been done a little better, especially number 9, to make everybody happy about what they were going. And then also too, we don't have the guidance of the master, of the original creator and everything. So Disney is on its own and trying to figure this out. I mean, you can say what you want about like George Lucas and how he went a different way and does certain things, but he's the only one to me that knows this thing inside out.
Yeah.
Um,
This isn't
Oh.
Cinderella. This is not. This
come
is
on,
not
man.
Snow White. This is
Yeah,
not
but
a normal
at
Disney
this point,
product.
though. Okay, I get what you guys are saying, but we're now 10 years into a Marvel purchase. The blueprint was there, right? This is what I'm saying. Like, I just find like us, like maybe it's me. I don't have time to defend these studios because like they have the money, they have the funds, they have the people. It's funny it's funny with influencers.
T. Mitch, you're talking about works of fiction in Hollywood, and everything is subjective. This is not like a machine that you could crank out like McDonald's and get good fries and good Big Macs and stuff all the time.
Every time. Every time.
It does not work like that with
You're
Hollywood.
going to have some
You're going to get to your successes, your highs and your lows. After all those stream success Marvel had, it's mathematically sound that they were going to get a bad year or a bad point, because that's just mathematics. They can't
but so you're gonna
that way forever.
So Star Wars is just gonna start shit and then just magically somehow be saved.
I think at some point they're going to get some stuff right, but you have to go through those trials and tribulations in order to get to that point.
I understand what you guys are saying.
You have to have the fandom telling you, okay, well, we don't want this, or we're not, liking this and everything, in order for you to take a step back, which is what they're doing, and sort of pushing things out. Okay, maybe we need to take a step back and stop pushing all this product out and come back with something a little bit more stronger. Hopefully, when they come back, it's with what we want. But we have. I think if we're trying to give companies a pass, we have to give them that leeway, because we're so dedicated to watching this stuff anyway. So why can't we give them a pass when they're on like a downturn and everything?
Yeah.
We support them when they're good.
Yeah.
So you gotta support them
when they're bad too.
But I just gotta be even handed, because like the thing is there are creators out there, there are people, and it's funny how they want to watch our channels, maybe not ours, but they know the people who know the shit. They know the people who know the canon. It's funny how they want to ask them and steal their ideas, which they have in script points, but then they don't want to ask for fan input, right? Like they do these test screenings and all this stuff. I don't have time for studio complaints, to be honest, because I get this shit. Everything's not going to be, and everything's not going to be rosy. I get that. But my point is like, bro, like, I just feel cheated as a fan and a lot of stuff. We spend a lot of money. I spend a lot of time.
And I'm with you, T. Mitch, but I don't feel cheated. I just feel that, okay, I have a choice. I can either do it, or I can either watch it or don't. With this Resistance stuff, it's not everybody's bag. Ken loves it. I'm willing to watch more of it. Because of Star Wars. I mean, it's fun to watch.
But this stuff isn't the stuff that's really divisive, because this is a different series, right? The bigger thing is like the projects they create, and it's been corrected, right? We saw Andor. People didn't like Ahsoka. I really liked Ahsoka, so I agree that like there's up and down.
A lot of people didn't like Andor. A lot of people didn't watch Andor because
people can't get past.
know,
Like people can't get to the heist, and I think that's the real delineation point with Andor. You have to be patient with it to get that far. And then once you get there, the whole thing, the whole prison arc, it's incredible. But until you understand who those people
Right.
on that crew
Yeah, right.
are and why it
Right.
matters. Like until you get that, it's really dense.
Yeah,
Uh,
and that
And
goes
you
to
figure out
fans'
that the resistance is going after payroll. It's
And you
all
gotta
of
love
it.
going after the payroll.
You gotta love
Right.
it, because that's if you want to
Hey, that's
kick
a good
someone
plug,
in the
man. That's a
gut.
good plug.
take their money, take their payroll, take their paycheck from them, and I guarantee you'll have stormtroopers jumping off a ledge.
But
What-
look,
what
you
I
needed to be patient with Andor. You needed to give it time to breathe. You needed to allow it to set its own terms, and you had to engage it on those terms. And when I hear of the whinging fan base, oftentimes I think that's the case. And it's a weird happenstance that all of a sudden the stories that are not being told and catered directly to a certain segment of that fan base, all of a sudden those are the ones where we're drawing the line in the sand and saying that's that's where our patience ends. And I think that there's a very obvious correlation there that some people don't want you to, some people don't really want you to draw that line, and I think it's really hard not to.
I mean, based on Filoni, I predict this series to pick up in the back half, and I predict all of us to end up liking it going into season 2. That's just kind of his style. I think we've all discussed when we've seen his projects. Maybe he has an issue with it's something he's working on, as we've seen in newer projects, kind of character building, maybe because he introduces so much off the bat that he almost has to backtrack to fill in all these characters, right? I mean, think about it. I think we have 6 or 7 characters now. Right now,
And the only one,
Right.
like Poe and BB-8 are the only ones that we really have that I
Right.
feel like I know.
Like a background to, like we
Yeah.
understand those two, but
Right.
Tam and Sienna, I mean, even Nico, I mean, they're part of the story. They're adding something. They're in it.
Building.
They're character building. Kaz is help, and Yeager is part of it too. And he's like Han. I mean, he has definite like. I can see why that character is there and why it acts the way it does.
Did anyone else get an Inglourious Bastards vibe from that commander having his like uniform there? It's like, you're going to take off your uniform and hide forever? Well, we'll just make so that can't happen. And he's just like, no, I'm just going to keep it. It'll just be here in case Palpatine somehow returns. I'll have it.
That's still like the clip of the year. That is still the clip of the year.
I didn't have it queued up. I need to queue it up.
Yeah, that literally the clip of the year. That's 2024 is somehow Palpatine returns. Like,
Somehow Palpatine returns could very well be the theme of this year, and I'm really hoping it's not.
oh, God.
Might be running our country. Who knows?
Yeah, from the unknown regions after he fell.
Hey,
I don't know.
look at the time.
some messed up chonk looking clone. I'm not just a shill.
Oh, man.
I'm now.
Oh, no.
Vote for me. I'm certainly not sinister.
But yeah, leading into to next week, guys, we stopped at 12. How do you guys want to run it all, or do you want to break it into 2 more parts?
Break it up.
Now.
I think doing 6 is like, it's a little bit too
It's a
much.
lot,
I got
yeah. It's a lot.
just do 4 and then finish the
We'll do-
last few off and everything. So we'll do another
We'll do 13 to 16. We'll do
13 to
4.
16.
Yeah. That sounds right. No, we'll save the rest for the end.
Yep. Which would be a
I know
great, nice little
We'll
break
break the
for
rest of
us.
the series anyway. So
Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing the back half. I mean, I think it'll pick up leading, and then if anything, Filoni knows what to do. He knows how to end the season. We've seen that, so I'm sure he'll leave us on the cliffhanger for season 2 and draw us in as much as he does. But
And once we're done, we can go watch Rogue One.
again, yeah.
And,
Well, we're gonna watch episode 7 in Andor and everything else Disney Plus and now Hulu subscribes us to watch. I'm waiting to get Hulu notifications now, but that's for another day. So
Is there any Star Wars on Peacock? Do you guys know? Nah, probably not.
yeah, I don't think he messes with the Roberts, but that's another story for another day. But yeah, guys, look at the time. We appreciate everybody coming on.
look at it.
Yeah, look at the time, right? Look at that. Star Wars band. But yeah, guys, hope everybody gets caught up. And until next week, this is the way.
That's the
This
way.
is the way.